Hello, hello. Mic check. Mic check.
You're good to go.
Chill. Are we gonna wait for this music to stop or just get into it?
I have no idea.
They're going hard out there, huh? Okay. How many of you guys just came from Skylar's training? Just barely. Okay, like almost the whole room. Okay. How awesome was that? Like Like insane. Probably like one of my favorite trainings. Like out of everything that's like, shifted my pitch, that's probably one of the most core trainings like ever, okay? Today, guys, I want to like help you guys get a lot better at switchovers, right? Like most of you guys are knocking these markets, right? Where like, 80, 90% of the homeowners use pest control. Will you shut this door for me? Right? Like, it's like almost every homeowner now in America uses pest control. Like it's a very common thing, right? So I want to help you guys get like really good at it today, right? So, why? That's why, right? Like almost every homeowner in America uses pest control. And so like today, right? Like if you guys are intentional, if you're here, right? I know you guys have been in like, how long has it been? Like 3.5 hours of training, 2.5 hours of training since lunch. So I know, stay with me. But I promise you guys, like if you're able to do this, you will sell a lot more, okay? So, do you have big goals? Right? Like I'm sure most of you guys have big goals, right? Like Ridge, what's your goal? Millie, right? Like do you think you can sell 1 million without doing a single switchover? No, right? Like guys, you have, Bo, what's your goal? Millie, Bo Millie, right? Come on. Okay, it's like guys, you have to be really good at switchovers, okay? To hit it, sorry, that is the craziest glare. You have to get better at switchovers. You just do. Guys, we are like, as a company, we are not very good at switchovers. And that's got to change today. Like, we have got to become way better at switchovers as a company. Like, we've got to be known as like the most elite source of switchovers, right? I think of like Cody's team in Houston. Dude, that EcoShield team hated that team. Like, absolutely. You guys are in Houston?
Yeah.
Like, dude, I had homies on the Houston team calling me like, dude, I'm getting chargeback after chargeback after chargeback. Because these guys were so good at switchovers. Like that's the goal of today, right? Like the goal is you're getting, calls from your competitors in market and you're like, dude, what the hell? Right? Like I'll never forget getting a call from Tyler Wyman up in Portland. And he's like, dude, what are you and Corbin doing? Switching every account, right? So, okay. Guys, when I sold 1,300 accounts and did 1.5 million in New Jersey, right? 80% of my deals were switchovers. 80%. Like, really think about it, guys. Like last year, of your deals, how many of them were switchovers? I bet the majority of you in here, it wasn't this high. Like, I bet the majority of you are missing out on deals, right? So, like, be present. We're going to, like, get you guys dialed. Okay. The goal of this training is to help you convert on more switchover opportunities. That is it. That is the only goal of today, okay? So, switchovers are easy. They're super easy because customers already see value in pest control, right? They're already paying for it. You're not trying to convince them on, using this product they've never used before, right? All you have to do is show them why our service is better and make switching simple. And that is it. Right? Like, guys, if someone comes up to me and tries to sell me on an Android, how hard is that going to be if I'm an iPhone guy?
Hard.
That is a hard sell. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not. Like, I'm not. Right? And we'll talk more about Androids later. Okay? If I already have an iPhone and I go into Apple and they're like, dude, you have the iPhone 13, why haven't you upgraded to the 16? How much easier of a sell is that? Way easier. Same concept. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Okay, right? This is the question. How do I know if I did a good switchover pitch? Okay, 2 things, right? 1, you made it super easy to switch. It's super easy to switch, and I'm going to show you guys how we do that, okay? And 2, it's a way better service, right? It's a no-brainer. Okay, this is my switchover process. Okay? Intro, what you guys all know. What is the same intro? Okay, I use the same intro in Great University. Bandwagon and hook them, right? You guys all know how to do that? Do you guys have a company or not yet? Yeah, we use Terminex. Cool. I've been upgrading a ton of your neighbors from Terminex. Closest to you would be Preston and Tim, 2 doors down. The reason they're upgrading, and I hook them, the reason they're upgrading, I do everything they do and a lot more. That way you guys get way more bang for your buck. Okay, and then I go into boxing them in. Okay? So you guys know how to do these top 2 things, right? For everybody in this room, you guys are like at our leadership event, which means you qualified for this event, right? Which means you've sold, if you're a rookie, right, or a sophomore, you've sold over 200 accounts last summer. Like you guys know how to do this. Okay, today, what we're going to talk about in this training is this stuff. Okay, box in, right? Be the expert. Okay, clear win. And that's like where we're going to spend a lot of our time today. We do, they don't. For those who has heard some of my recordings, how many times do I say this in switchovers? A lot, right? How black and white does it become? Like so simple, right? Like that's so often the problem with like you guys trying to switch people over is you overcomplicate it, okay? Get bug confession and twist, and then make it easy to switch, okay? And we're gonna go through all this right now. Okay, box in, be the expert. Guys, like being the expert is what sells, right? Don't ask. It's like, oh, we use John's Pest Control. Really, what do they do? What do you think the customer is gonna say?
Everything.
Oh, they do everything. They do my lawn, they do my home, they do the inside. Oh, and actually they'll come back for free.
True. They love that.
Are you cooked?
Very.
You're done, bro. You're done. You're done. Right? It's like, oh, you use Terminex. Oh, yeah, I might have heard of them. What do they do? Oh my gosh, they've been around for 80 years. They're the best company. This is what's going to happen, you guys. Okay? So, right? If I decide, right, like if I decide to go and buy Nikes, dude, that is my decision, right? I have decided to go and buy these Nikes, right? What we don't want to do is offend somebody's decision to go with their company. So like I used to say in my rookie year, I'm like, oh yeah, Terminex, they're the McDonald's of pest control. How dumb is that? That's dumb. That doesn't make sense.
Automatically puts their walls up.
Right? So they're like, dude, why? Yeah, just like he's saying, right? Like, dude, why is this guy offending my decision?
Not my guy. My guy's the best.
Yeah, John, dude, John's been servicing my home for 10 years.
He's like Wendy's, man.
Yeah, like, okay? So, I'm gonna walk you guys through this. Be the expert, don't ask, okay? Customers don't know the details. Guys, they don't know anything. Like, my parents use Aptive, and I use Selah at my rental. I've never been home once for them while they've sprayed my house. My parents, they're home, but they work at home. Do you think my dad is doing business calls and like watching the homie spray? No. No. Like when my mom sees a spider, so they live at the bottom of like Little Cottonwood, so they get like tons of spiders. They even get mice sometimes, gross, right? Like, do you think when my mom sees a spider, does she call and ask what they're gonna do? No. Like, are you gonna spray the whole yard?
Get rid of
They
it.
don't. They don't, right? Like, what do they ask? What does my mom ask?
Get rid of it.
Are you going to get rid of my spider? Like, when can you come and get rid of my spider? Okay? So, they just want results, right? Confidence is what sells, right? So, like, takeaway from this part, right? Like, I am the expert. I know everything and anything about your company. So, what can you do before getting to your market? You can do some research, right? You can figure out the companies that are in your market, right? Like, if I know in my neighborhood there's Moxie and Aptive, and there's a lot of those accounts, I should probably know a little bit about Moxie and Aptive. Does that make sense? If I know if I show up to Mississippi, right, and I've heard of this company called Wayne's, right? I don't know who it is, I don't know what it is, but I know exactly what they do. They do the base, they do the inside, and they come back for free. Does that sound about right? Right? Like, I know everything, right? I show up to Albuquerque, right? I knock one day with Corbin last year. And I'm hearing all these weird companies, right? Do I know anything about them actually?
No.
I know nothing, right? But I'm the guy, right? Like, I'm the expert. Dude, I'm way familiar with XYZ Pest Control Company. Correct me if I'm wrong. They do the inside, they do the outside, they do the first level of your overhangs, and if you see bugs, they come back for free. Does that sound about right? Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I'm into it, okay? So, Next step, I'm going for the clear win. Okay? I'm going for like, we used to call this like the jugular, right? Like I'm going for something that is, right here, it says the clearest win. You know, the biggest win that will grab their attention immediately, right? And why do I want to do this? I want to hook them quick. Okay? Because how many times has like the other door-to-door kid said we're way different? Or we're way better?
1,000 times.
1,000 times.
What about dirt cheap?
We're dirt cheap. We're dirt cheap and we're way better and we use way more product. You know, like guys, okay, I'm going to walk you guys through this, okay? Explain how that will add a huge value, okay? So, going back to this, right? Going back to, right? So I've boxed in, right? Like I just barely talked about, I'm the expert, I know everything about anything, right? I'm not doing this whole bullshit of like, do you pay for anything extra? Because like, what are they going to do?
No, it's all wrapped in.
They're just going to be like, oh no, dude, I do, it's the best. Like,
It's a bundle.
it's everything. Like, they didn't even do my yard. Like, I'm not giving them a chance to, like, you know, get me off my path, right? I'm not asking, like, right? Like, I am the expert right here, right? Like, they do the inside, they do the base, and if you guys see any bugs in between their sprays, they'll come back for free. Does that sound about right? Cool. So, dude, like, the biggest reason why, like, everyone's been upgrading from Terminex is because I treat the entire yard and they don't. Okay, and then I'm into it. Okay, so going back to the clear win. Okay, make everything a clear win in every aspect of the service. Find a way to make a win with us. Okay, even if the competitor does something similar, you can almost always find a clear win. Okay, so going back to this, right? What's like the biggest win? Let's say you're selling from Mira, right? And you're pitching against Orkin. What's the biggest win? Yard. Okay? Let's say you're pitching against Aptive. What's the biggest win? Eaves. What else could be like a big win?
Yard.
I use the BBB. Right? Their Better Business Bureau is revoked. Right? And they have an F on there. That's like a massive win for me. Okay? And I show them Mira's reviews. Right? And I can go through these, right? If I'm selling for Selah in Utah, right? What's the biggest win against Moxie here? We're local, right? Like, dude, Moxie's a massive nationwide company, and look how bad their reviews are.
Oh, shit.
Right? So clear wins can be different. Does that make sense? But understand, like, when you have your knocking company, figure out what is, like, the most, you know, unique, badass thing about your company. Typically, right, like, almost always, what is it going to be almost always? The yard, right? Almost every time. So almost every time, instead of you guys going, right, like in a startup, you would normally go like eaves, base, yard. And a switchover, you're normally going to go like yard, eaves, right, and then some other big value add. Because the base, am I going to win on that? Not really, right? So, okay. Yeah, they sweep the eaves, but they don't leave a repellent up there to keep things from coming back. That's why, sorry, the glare is gnarly. That's why you still see the webs. We're going to leave a repellent up there so you don't see this stuff coming back. Right? Like one of the biggest mistakes I see, guys, in like switchovers is like you guys try to like fight with the customer. And it's bad, you guys. Like you don't try and fight, but they're like, oh, they do the eaves. And you're like, no, they don't. Are you going to win? No, guys, you're not. Right? So I'll just be like, oh yeah, dude, they'll totally like knock stuff down, but they don't leave a treatment up there like I do. So like, cool thing with those guys, they're more of like a cleaning service. With me, I'm gonna leave it like a repellent up there. That way, long term, you're not worrying about spiders, wasps, anything like that. It's gonna keep the whole home looking brand new and pretty, so you guys don't have to power wash it every couple years. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, any questions at this point?
So you don't go for a win on the base, like ever?
I don't know if I'll win. Like, it's just, it's pest control.
What we were doing in like new dev neighborhoods was weed poles. We'd be like, yeah, we dust the weed poles. Okay, no.
Yeah, that's good.
One win that we found
That's good.
ever.
Yeah, like I will sometimes, right? But like, it's like, yeah, those guys, they'll squirt around the base. I treat a full 3 feet up, 3 feet out. But like, to me, that's not gonna sell someone.
The only one we've ever found was like weed poles.
Yeah, right? Okay, let's save the questions for a sec.
At the end of the day, like what is your biggest win? Go for your biggest win. Like Zach was saying, like go for the juggler, take the biggest win, and that's the very first thing that you're going for.
Yeah, it would just be like
Yeah, so like I'm just trying to get them hooked in quick if that makes sense. So going back to like, the way I do it, right? I'm just hooking them quick. So like yard first. But yeah, I can bring it up. We'll treat it on the base. I usually say, yeah. Like guys, I just did, my first week back, I did 60K in Tampa. And every fucking switchover, every deal was a switchover. Every one. Like every deal was, right? Like the next week I did 47 accounts. I sold over 100 accounts in 2 weeks. Like I know what I'm doing, right? Like I'm sorry, you're just not gonna win on a 3 foot up, 3 foot out base spray.
Exactly. How fast? Obviously, you're fast at your sales, and I feel like that's because you're going straight for the jugular, right?
Yeah, and they're simple,
Right.
right? Because I don't have to explain a lot of things. So often you guys think like talking more builds more value. Where like in all reality, keeping it simple, right? Like keeping it simple is what builds value, right?
Are you just going straight? If they have bugs, you're going straight to the bugs, right? It doesn't matter the scope of service.
Yeah, so like let's say it is Aptive, right? It's like, cool, do you guys have a company or not yet? Yeah, we use Aptive. Okay, I'm way familiar. They do, right, going back to this. They do the base inside, and they're like, let's say there's tons of bugs up here. And they're supposed to like, they're supposed to knock this stuff down. When was the last time they were out here for you?
Cool.
And now I get into it, right? So like, dude, big thing with me, and then the clear wind's gonna be the eaves on that one. If it's just like covered.
So you adjust it depending on the bugs that they're dealing with. Obviously, it's not just the same scope of service.
Yeah, like guys, sell people, not pest control, right? Tailor it, right? Okay, cool. Going into this, like we do, they don't. Like the whole idea of this is like to make it so simple, so black and white. Like the way you know you do this right is the wife or the husband walks inside and they're like, honey, they do the yard and Aptive doesn't. Like that's how you know, right? Like, or honey, sorry, Aptive is a bad one, right? But like, honey, we're gonna switch from Orkin because they do the entire property. Like, and Orkin doesn't. Like that's how you know. Do they care what we do in the yard? No, right? Like, so I'm trying to make it as black and white as I can. Does that make sense? Okay, getting into this, right? Okay, there's a win with every single switchover. You just have to find it, right? All you have to do is find it. So for example, there was a lot of Aptive accounts in Florida, right? It's like, oh yeah, dude, those guys they spray the entire yard. I'm not like those guys because anytime you mow the lawn, it gets clipped up with the grass clippings. So what I do is I granulate it. It's a bait. I spread it all throughout your yard. The bugs use it as a food source, and it wipes out the entire colony. It works way better. How much value did I just create? A ton. How bad do they think Aptive is now? Dude, how often do you mow your lawn in Florida? Twice a week. Like once a week, twice a week. Like you are mowing that a lot. The chemical is gone, right? Okay. Point out specific difference is we do, they don't. Right? Don't just say we do way more. Right? Like I talked about earlier, guys, like every Moxie kid, every Aptive kid says this, we do way more. Like, dude, point it out. We do the yard, they don't. Make it black and white, right? We're way different. Okay? If I'm a homeowner and I've used Terminex for 15 years, do I want different? No. If you're pitching me on an Android and I've used an iPhone since I could walk, right? Or sorry, an Apple. Like literally since I was like, Apple, my dad had the first iPod, right? Since I was like 7 years old. Do I want anything different? No. I want something maybe similar, right? Does that make sense, you guys? Like so often I hear like after it's like, oh, Terminex. Okay, we've been upgrading everybody from Terminex because we're way different. Dude, they don't want different. They want, oh, you guys use Terminex. Okay, I'm way familiar. We've been upgrading a bunch of guys from Terminex because we do everything they do and a lot more. Does that make sense? Okay, cool.
Is that what you use on your hook every single time?
Yeah, like pretty much. Like going back to this, right? And I wish I would have put this in here more. Right? Like pretty much my hook is the same every time. Do you guys use a company or not yet? Yeah, we use Terminex. Okay, dude, I'm way familiar with them. I just upgraded your neighbor Sally and the Jones from them. Big reason why they upgraded to me is because I did the entire yard. And then I get into it, right? Or going back here, it's like, yeah, dude, I'm way familiar with Terminex. Just switched the Johnsons Millers. Reason everybody's upgrading, we do everything they do and a lot more. And I'll slow down right there. So like they understand it, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. Don't just say, oops, we already talked about that. That's what every other salesman says, right? Find differences and make it crystal clear throughout each part of the service. Like guys, I do switchovers in 5-6 minutes and I'm on to the next house because it is so black and white and it is so clear. And they're stoked. Like they are so happy. You know, the husband walks inside. He immediately says, hey, we're switching to Mira because they do the yard and Terminex doesn't. He's not saying anything else. He's not saying granulars. He's not saying sprays. That's all he's saying. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah. Okay, cool. For example, right? Most people switch because we treat up high in the eaves to knock down spiders and wasps. Terminex doesn't do that, right? Or EcoShield only granulates around the house, but they don't treat the yard for ticks. That's why everyone's upgrading, because we treat the full yard, including, yard, and include the treatment for ticks every time as well, if your service provider does that, right? Guys, that is such a massive win if you're selling for like, and just to be like very clear, like every single company will have different wins. I've sold for like, since the inception of Grid, I've sold for over like probably, 14, 15 different companies. And all of them have had different wins, right?
I think a huge thing too is there's like, Selah, for example, they don't treat the whole yard. And so it's like, how would you make that a clear win, Zach?
Yeah, so I sold in Utah, and my first week here I did 55 accounts. It was actually like my best week last summer, right? Here in Utah with Selah. And like I was switching people over from Aptiv, people over from, like other companies who did do the whole yard. And I'm like, biggest thing with us, and this is why everyone's upgrading, we're local, and it's like we do a lot of things in addition to what you're getting right now. So like Aptiv, and I box in, right? And then Selah, right? They do the granulars around the mulch bed, and then they do the transitions. So like they do the fence line, they do the curbs, they do the mulch beds, anywhere there's a transition point. At least they did that here.
No, yeah, they did.
So
like the big thing is like you still have to be scared, right, of making a win against like someone who treats the whole yard like Aptiv, and then Selah that's doing the mulch beds and like anywhere where it's going from like concrete to landscape, right? Like, dude, I create so many clear wins with that. So it doesn't really matter who you're selling for, what the service is. There's an angle to take a win no matter what.
100%.
As well, like, I don't know, I was in Cincy, so I would say 70, 80% of my summer switchovers. And I think if you don't do the whole yard, you pitch on doing the yard. You treat the yard.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the exact same value. People really don't even care about the whole yard, to be honest, but people just need to know what Zach's saying is just the black and white, clear, simple. Even if people do the yard and you're switching them over, chances are they don't even know they're getting their yard treated. And so you just make clear wins all the time.
100%, right? Okay. Next on that, like, on my switchover format, right, is twisting, right? So get the bug confession and twist. Most people who have a company still have a few bugs. Like, I'm sorry to say this, like, if they use a pest control company in Tampa, Florida, they're still gonna have bugs. Like, that's just how it is, right? Like, even here in Utah, they still will have some bugs. So it's like, if you see them, point them out, right? Like, if you're on the front porch and you see a wasp nest and you're not pointing that out, you're crazy. You're crazy, okay? That's why That's why you should be like scanning, right? Like as you're approaching the door, okay? Find out what they signed up for pest control in the first place, and then twist on how our service will do an even better job at getting rid of the bugs they signed them up for, right? So going back to this format, right? Just so you guys can see it, right? Clear win, we do, they don't. Right here, get the bug confession and twist. It's like, oh, cool. When you guys signed up with Aptiv, what did you guys sign up for? Oh, we signed up because we had tons of ants. Okay, cool. Where did you guys get them? Oh, they were mainly at like the base of the home, and then we had some ant piles out in the yard. Okay, cool. Kind of like these ones. It's like they're still gonna have some bugs, right? Like that's why you got to be like mentally, like Skylar was talking about. If you guys were in this room when he trained, like you got to be mentally dialed when you're walking up to the door, right? Like tough thing with Aptiv, dude, because they spray the whole yard. They're only gonna kill the bugs on the surface. They won't get to the colony underneath. That's why I don't spray the yard, because I don't want to kill the adult bugs. I want to get like all the pupae, larvae, and eggs. So every time I come out, I granulate the entire property. The bugs use it as a food source, and it wipes out the entire nest. That way, dude, you guys don't ever have to worry about these ants coming back in the future. And the nice thing is I warranty it 100%. So if you guys see any of the ants when I'm gone, you just call, I come back for free. Does that make sense? Cool. So, anyways, going back here, okay? Save the question for the end. Is that chill? Okay, cool. Why do most people hesitate to switch even when they know the service is significantly better?
I think it's a hassle.
Hassle, why else?
They don't trust you.
Maybe. I would say like the, yeah, like the guys, the biggest reason,
Talk about the information.
yeah, like the biggest reason why people don't switch is like, it is such a pain in the ass. Like it sucks switching things. Like guys, I've been married now for almost 3 years. I've been trying to have Kennedy, my wife, switch to Verizon. She won't go into Verizon. Like she's on her mom's plan with T-Mobile, and I have to Venmo her mom every month.
It's more of a hassle.
That sucks. Like, why will she not go into Verizon?
You gotta pay the year up front, brother. It's a hassle.
It's horrible. Horrible. Right? The hassle. Right? Like, how many times have you guys tried to switch from, T-Mobile to Verizon, or from Verizon to, AT&T? Like, does that suck?
Yes.
It's horrible, right?
Dude, I just had to reset up all the utilities on my house, and it just sucks. Like, it's just annoying. It took like 2 hours out of my day that it's like I could have been working, but it's just annoying. Like, I would have paid someone to do it, like, honestly.
It sucks, dude. Like, when people call in to cancel, I didn't know this. Somehow, I don't know how I didn't know this. Moxie has like an 80% cancel fee in Florida. So I'm like, oh, I'll just call in with this girl. So I'm coaching her through how to do it. Guess how long that call went?
40 minutes.
Almost an hour, dude. Like, that was so not worth my time. It was a $700 cancel fee, so I was trying to get her out of it, and they never got out. But like, guys, that's why people don't like switching things. Like, she got emotional. Like, she was like full on almost crying. Right? Like, canceling things sucks.
He still got it done though.
Oh, I got it done. I paid it, but I got it done. Horrible, right? Okay, make it a breeze to switch. Make it the easiest thing on earth to switch. Right? It is so easy to switch pest control companies. It's not a big deal. Right? But like up to this point, what do they think switching is? Hard. Like, because every experience they've had in the past is hard. Right? That is my job as the sales rep, to make it easy for them to upgrade. Okay? So, help the customer understand that switching is quick and easy. It only takes a few minutes to set up. Right? How often have you had guys like back out of contracts because they're like, dude, this is just going to take too long? Like, bro, it's pest control. This takes 2 seconds to sign you up. Right? Cool. And all it takes to cancel is to send to their email to their old company. Right? Like Skylar just talked about. And I don't use like a template. Right? Like I am like, after I'm done, right? Well, actually, let me finish this. You can get it done in 5 minutes. Okay? Be the expert and help them understand that they won't have a cancellation fee. But if they do, your discount should be enough to offset the cost. Make it make sense. Make it hassle-free. Okay? So every single time before I roll out price, right? Every single time before I roll out price, I do the same line every single time, right? I'm like, yeah, so as far as upgrading to us, I do all the paperwork and canceling for you guys, so it's super easy to upgrade over. That way you guys don't have to deal with any of the headache involved. As far as pricing goes, I come out the same day as my trucks. I don't bring out any cards or flyers. I just sign up anyone who wants to get it done today on a discount. Does that make sense? Cool. Price-wise, super simple, and then I'm into it. Okay?
Also a soft close in that.
Yeah, I want to make sure he's with me. Right? So often, if you guys don't verify if they're there, dude, you just interrupted their day. They might be thinking about cats. Like, they might be zoned out, right? Like, so I've pitched people, and they're just staring at the mulch bed. Right? Like, make sure, verify.
Guys, what he's saying right now is so true. I'll tell you this, if someone's pitching me at my door, unless they're really good, after about 30 seconds, I'm just like, when's this fucker done? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, literally, when is he done? And I'm not listening to anything, right? It's like, that's why soft closing is so important. You guys heard me up on the stage. I was like, I sold a lot of accounts. My best number was 720. But Drew, when he first started working with us, Like the way he would soft close before and like make sure, and it wasn't the soft closing that totally changed for me. It's how engaged he had people the whole time. They were like listening. He's like, yeah, you see that up here, right? Yeah. Cool. We also treat the weep holes. Like, do you know what a weep hole is? Oh, okay, cool. All of a sudden, I'm like, damn, like these people are like saying yes. They're talking to him. I'm like, dude, I need you to train me on this, like ASAP, right? And that's what Seager's saying, right, guys? Is like, that's why you got to do this shit, because if you're just like talking at them, I promise they're not listening. Like, you have to make sure they listen. It's your job to make sure they listen, because if you're not, I promise they're not listening. I swear. Promise they're not.
They're so zoned out, right? Like, just to double down, like you fully just interrupted a work call. Like they just hung up a work call maybe, and it's like they're just thinking about what was going on at work. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Guys, when I do the cancel, just so you know, like pro tip, it's like I don't ever cancel their shit until ours is set up. Never, ever, 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 ever cancel any of their stuff before you've signed them up with Mira or with your provider, right? Sale, whoever you guys are selling for. Why do I say that?
Then you know it's done.
You know it's done, but why would I want to sign them up? Basically, they're active with 2 contracts right now. Why would I want to do that?
Gives that customer or that customer's pest control a chance to like either call, email in directly. Oh hey, no, like you're not canceling.
Yeah, like the reason I want to do it right before is because like they'll literally just be like, oh, you do all the paperwork and canceling for me, cancel it right now, and then I'll call you back when they're canceled, when I confirm it's canceled. It's like, no, that's not how this works, right? Because what am I? Dude, I'm the expert, right? I've done this 1,000 times. Like, I am the expert, okay? So, super easy. I do all the paperwork canceling for you guys. That way there's no headache involved for you. When did you guys sign up with EcoShield? April. Okay, so you guys will, so we signed up 2 months ago. Okay, so you're under contract. We do all the paperwork and canceling for you, and then we cover your cancellation fee. That way it's easy for you. Is this guy gonna be down now?
Yeah.
He's down. Like all of those, like, you know, those most common objections and switchovers are like contracts, cancel fees, headache. All of that is gone because of what I just did. And if I've built enough value, right? Like if I've made the service so much better that it's now a no-brainer, am I going to get the deal? Every day, like every day of the week I will. Does that make sense?
I had a question. Where are you framing like at the start? And are you telling him it's easy to switch as well? Because I know the way Brandon does it, like he frames out the intro, pretty much says exactly what you just said right there. But when do you frame like in your switch?
Good question. So I do it right before I roll out price is where I do it. And I slow down so like they totally understand it. That's where I do it.
You don't do it like before, like right as you get into it, it's just at the end?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, yeah. I do it right before price. That's where I've always done it. So anyways, cool. Moving on, okay? Is this clear? Like, I hope this is clear.
Yeah.
Are light, like, you know, light bulbs clicking?
Yeah.
Hopefully? Okay, amazing. Okay, what are some things that will happen if you do not do this? Customers won't see value and won't switch. Right? Like, guys, if I miss one of these little green boxes, if I'm like, oh, dude, it's super easy to upgrade over to Android. We do like all the canceling from Apple, so it's easy, and we even buy you a new phone. Like, it's free. Am I gonna switch? No. Right? Why?
Better service.
Because I like my Apple. Like, dude, it's a better phone. I like that. Right? If I know that Androids are better, let's just say, but I know it's going to be a pain in the ass to switch it, am I going to switch? No. So does that make sense why these are so important?
Yeah.
Like, guys, I promise, if you can get really good at these 2 things, which they're really not that hard. They're not. Like, this is literally just like one line. I do all the paperwork canceling for you, so it's super easy to upgrade, and you don't have to worry about any of the headache involved. Does that make sense? So that's done, right? The better service, how do you do that?
The wind's the yard.
The clear win, the we do, they don't. Like, you make it super simple, okay? Cool, customers will think it's too much of a hassle and won't switch, right? Like we just talked about. They won't see the clear win, right? Like, dude, I understand that it's super easy to switch to Android, but I don't see why I need to. Right? I don't see the value, I don't see the clear win, okay? What will happen if you execute on this training? Okay? You'll convert more on switchovers. The switchover process will be seamless, right? Like Noah said, dude, he had 80% switchovers. Like that should be what you guys should have. Like you guys don't have like, raise your hand if you're coming from a different company. Okay, how often did they train you on shit like this? Never? Like this just isn't a thing, right? Like to my reps in market, right? I'm like, dude, we're knocking behind, right? Just barely. We're in Florida, so that's why it's so relevant in my mind. But I'm like, we're knocking behind Prodigy, All You Need, Creepy, and Tier 1. It's like, do you think those homies know how to pitch? No. So like, dude, when you guys wear like the grit uniform, right? Like when you guys put on the grit polo, you should have like this extra aura, right? Or like this extra swagger. Because like you're going into battle with like, the right tools. You're going into battle with like the right armor on, right? You have been fully trained. Like you really have, guys. You guys are so much better than every other knocking company, right? So like if they do have a Moxie, if they do have an Aptive, what does that mean? Dude, I'm getting them. Like I'm switching them, right? Like if you guys have been trained by me, right, who's sold more pest control than anyone else, can you switch people over? 1,000, like you should, right? So like if you run into any knocking company, what are you doing? You're switching them. And you're not leaving until like it's done, right? Because like if they bought from that Moxie kid, they'll buy from me. Like that is my mentality, right? Like if they bought from the Vantage kid who's fresh off his mission, dude, they're buying from me, right? Cool. Okay, you'll have higher switchover contracts. Right? So many of you guys out of nowhere, you go from $299, $199, whatever it is, right? Monthly, and you drop it down to $49 a month. It's like, whoa, right? Because you just match the price. Like if you do this right, you won't have to do that because they'll see value in paying more, right? Because of the clear win. Because, right, like you kept it so simple and you said, we do the yard and they don't. If we're doing the yard and they don't, do they assume that's going to cost more money? 100%, right? It's more product, right? So like guys, like I said earlier, just to double down like what I said, you guys talking and talking and talking and talking and looping and looping and looping, that doesn't build value. What builds value is like keeping it simple, keeping it black and white, okay? You'll win more. Guys, if you do these two things, you will win more, okay? Cool. What are your guys' takeaways?
I have a question.
Let's save questions for 1 sec. Okay, sorry. Takeaways. Like I just want to hear some light bulb moments. Ridge.
Just keeping it way more simple.
Way simple. Okay, Carter. Yeah. You just don't, right? Like guys, you talking and talking and talking doesn't build the value. What builds the value is keeping it super clear. Okay.
Eliminating the hassle.
The hassle, dude. Like that is the biggest hang up, right? How many of you guys have gotten to the end of your racks and they're like, so how do I cancel? And that's like their main objection, right? Like you've racked for 18 minutes. You're down to minimums and they're like, okay, sounds good. How do I switch? How do I cancel working? Like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, dude, if I would have just brought this up earlier, I would have a $299, $179 BIMO. Right? Like we talked about it. Why do the elite sellers sell such high contracts? It's because they do these things. Right? Guys, my average initial when I did 1.5, take a guess what it was.
188.
Okay, Ben knew. 188. Why? Because I was doing these two things. I was doing these, right? I kept it super clear, right? I kept it super black and white, and I made it an easy thing for them to do, right? So, what other takeaways? Chase.
Yeah, if you're like more direct, you don't have to be rude and like fighting them. Like, oh no, they don't do that. If you're just direct, and it's like we do this, they don't. It makes it easier, even though maybe at the moment it doesn't seem like that.
Super. And if you box in and you do it the proper way, dude, you're not like bodying them. They're like, oh yeah, they don't. Like, they will literally walk inside, right? I remember in Tampa, this Indian fella, I forgot his name, right? He walks inside, he's like, hey honey, they're gonna do the wall outlets and All You Need doesn't. And it was like, she was like, oh sweet, done, right? Like, they don't need to know everything, right? You just gotta keep it simple, okay?
I feel like after this training, just kind of pondering, I feel like people are actually going to appreciate you being time, like there's just this mutual respect. Of, like I respect your time, I respect mine, and like this, like they're actually gonna understand and be so appreciative that we didn't beat around the bush and use black and white. So.
It's pest control. Like, guys, it just has never been sexy. It never will be. Like, this isn't some solar pitch. This is pest control, right?
A takeaway that I think literally every single one of us in this room should take away from it, and it was still my biggest takeaway because it works, is literally finding that one clear win, like going for it, like stick
Good.
to it. Take that clear win and like die on that win.
Die on that hill, dude.
Who is it a clear win for?
Yeah.
Right? So guys, like I said this in this last training just barely, but it's like you gotta understand, like when we say clear win, like how you're pitching this individual is you're saying, hey, this is how like I'm helping you win. Like, so you gotta think about these situations and like how someone actually feels, right? It's like, let's say someone comes up to my porch, right? Is like really simple and really clear, and they're like, hey man, it's like, we noticed you got like tons of webs up here. It's like, we're gonna totally handle that for you and you're never gonna have an issue again. It's like, would you like that?
Hell yeah.
It's like, no, like all of a sudden I'm like, shit, who is this kid? I'm like,
Oh, and by the way, like I do everything for you. Like I do all the paperwork, canceling. You won't have to deal with any headache involved.
like guys, and so that's what I'm saying, right? It's like everyone makes things like so complicated with this job. It's like, just think about it how it is. It's like you knock on someone's door and it's like, they have a service and you're like, yeah, like actually you're gonna pay like pretty much the same, maybe it's a little bit more expensive, but it's like, I'm gonna do double for you, like literally double, and it's like close to the same. Like, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? It's like, guys, like people are down, right? It's like, what they're not down for is it's like, oh dude, is this guy like trying to tell me about pyrethroids and like how this Sprint is way fucking better? It's like, no, dude, that is not what they want, right? It's like, no, they just wanted the clear win and they want to get out of it. That's what they want.
Right? Like I'll never, none of my, is Ricky and the boys in here? No, they're not in here. Right? Like when these guys switched from EcoShield, it was the craziest shit I'd ever heard. Right? Like I was hearing like generational 2.0 bait stations. Right? Or like deep soil treatments. Like does the customer care about that stuff?
No.
Right? I didn't understand it. Okay? Cool. Let's bring it back in. Takeaways.
I just got something real quick as far as like basically what I was hitting on is.
Hey, listen. This could add value, right?
So I actually had, it was my last week of wrapping up in Cali. I had this customer that like super bullish, but ended up selling him. But he had told me like right off the rip, yeah man, like we get rats like in our barbecue area. Like they love going under our barbecue. It's like one of the built-in like barbecue areas. I simply said, we'll take care of that. Boom, done. Like 400, 199 monthly. Like done.
Done. Amazing. Simple, right? Simple, amazing. Okay, what else? What other takeaways? Bo.
When you're the professional and you say, hey, I'm going to take care of the hassle of cancellation, we're going to provide a better service, you'll literally see people exhale. They're like, okay, yeah, okay. And it's like, it's done.
Yeah.
You see them exhale, you see a weight go off their shoulders, like, but you have to establish yourself as the professional, because if you say you'll handle it and you're not the professional, then they don't believe you. But
Totally.
if you're the expert and you tell them you'll take care of it, then they believe you, and then it's done.
This backpack, right? Of like, because if you've built all this value and you're like, dude, we do the yard, they don't, right? You're going through all these clear wins and it's so black and white, you can still see this backpack on of like, oh, I have to cancel. Like, fetch me, right? But like, in Portland, the way we'd explain it is like, when you do this thing of like, dude, I do all the paperwork canceling for you, so it's super easy to upgrade. This backpack falls off their back and they're like, oh, hell yeah, right? Like I'm switching to Axiom. Dude, it's a local service. I'm getting my walls treated and I'm gonna get the yard done. Oh my gosh, sign me up. Like that's,
A lot of accounts, baby.
yeah, we did, right? So, okay, what will you guys do differently this year? Question?
Piggybacking off everybody else, just less is more. You just said we we're not the expert, we just keep it simple with the benefit and just make it simple.
Amazing, right? What else will you guys do different now?
No anything extra bullshit.
Yeah, like the fluff doesn't add value, okay?
Asking them, are you paying for anything extra, literally?
Yeah, like that doesn't help. That doesn't help. Like, why would I ask a question that I'm gonna lose on? Like, it's like, dude, I don't ask how much they pay because it's irrelevant to me, right? Because like Ben said, it's about the same, right? Like if I do ask, right, they're like, how much do you pay? Oh, I pay $40 a quarter. Well, now how much more value do I have to build in order for them to switch?
So much.
Like a ton, right? So I don't want to, right? Every question I ask, I'm never taking a question that's going to, ask a question that's going to allow me to go backwards.
Yeah, guys, as much as you are like, it's a clear win, you're also not taking any clear L's, right?
Correct.
It's like, don't ask questions unless you know the answers when you're selling.
I feel like you just pigeonhole yourself when you ask somebody, oh, what are you guys paying? Like, we're not in this game to save people money. Like, we're in this game to sell fucking, like, pest control and, like, make money. Like, you're losing yourself so many dollars by asking somebody what they're paying.
You also are just like, for everybody in here, we contract out with the best providers.
100%.
Right? And so it's like oftentimes they are switching from like a Terminex or an Orkin and they're getting something more in value. Like they should pay more, right? So what else will you guys do different this year?
Switch so many people over because there's always a win.
My training's done. I'm done. I don't need to say anything else. I'm done, okay? What else? Back there.
I'm going to definitely use the bandwagon to the hook a lot more. That transition is really good.
Good, amazing, right? Like guys, if they've had, just to double down, right? If they've had Terminex for 10 years, dude, they don't want different. They don't, right? It's like, cool, you guys use Terminex, I'm way familiar. We've been upgrading a lot of these guys, like if you know Ben, John, anyways, like the reason they're upgrading is because we do everything Terminex does and a lot more in addition. So you guys get way more bang for your buck. And then I'm into boxing in. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. What else will you do differently?
Be quicker.
Quicker? Okay.
Like finding their exact like hot button and like mainly just sticking to that and like what we do better.
Good. Amazing, amazing, right? Like so often you guys like as rookies, you go through the pitch and you check these boxes, right? And like I heard over here, like how do I win on the base? Like I don't know if you do. Like you can only spray, you can only spray 3 feet up and 3 feet out, right?
Guys, Seager is saying so many things are true. It's also, guys, just this concept of like, hey, let's say someone like, you're trying to sell someone shoes and they have a hole in their shoe and you're talking about their shoelaces. It's like, don't talk about their shoelaces, just talk about the hole over and over again. It's like, stick your finger in it, twist in it. Like, hey, guys, like this is an issue. It's like, I'm not gonna come into someone, it's like, yeah, you have a hole in your shoes, let me try to sell you new shoelaces. Right? It's like, no, like, double the fuck down on whatever the clear win is and like push. Because that is the clear win. That's why you're not talking about something else. You're not going to talk about their shoelaces. You're talking about the hole in their shoe. That's how it's got to work.
Right? So like when I'm racking and when I'm negotiating, what should I be bringing up? The clear win. The clear win, right? Right? That's what I'm bringing up over and over and over. Okay? Cool. Questions?
Okay, about that.
Yeah, hit me.
So when you get
How much time do I have, by the way?
when you go for the
So I've got 3?
when you go for the
Oh, I did it. It's perfect.
when you go for the jugular, what do you do to get the fine temperature back up? I'm gonna just double down and be like, oh no, I'm gonna take care of that. So
Yeah, so guys, the question, right, so you guys can hear it, is what do you do when you go for the clear win and they say, yeah, they do that? I'm not going to, right, listen, I don't like repeating myself. I'm not going to like bash heads. Like I'm not going to do that, right? I'm not going to be like, no, you're wrong. Like I've tried doing that shit, right? It's like, it doesn't work. It's like, right? It's like, I heard this girl one time be like, yeah, Terminex does the whole yard for me. I'm like, no, they don't. Well, what happens right there?
Yeah, they do.
Door short. Yeah, they do. Boom, door shut. Right? So it's like, oh yeah, totally. You guys might pay extra for that, and you might have to like babysit your bug guy for that. So like with me, it's just part of our program. We do it every single time, and you don't have to pay extra for it. Does that make sense? Or it's like, yeah, they do the overhangs. Totally. Those guys, they just clean up there. They don't treat. That's why everyone's been upgrading from Terminex, is because each time I come out, I'll remove all the spiders, all the wasps, but on top of that, I'll leave a treatment there so the spiders and the wasps don't keep coming back. Does that make sense? So now I've built the value.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Fisher.
The biggest problem I had in Texas is like these old people are so loyal to their company. Is that just a value building problem on my side?
It's leveling with them. It's like, Dude, correct me if I'm wrong. Like you guys like pay for pest control not to have bugs, right? Cool. You don't care who kills your bugs, right? You just don't want bugs. And they always will agree upon that. And it's super black and white, right? It's super black and white, but they're like, yeah, I don't care who kills my bugs, right?
6 more minutes, by the way.
Oh, cool. So let's say they do like, bash me back. They're like, no, we've used John for 6 years. Cool. Do you have John over for dinner? No. Okay. And then I'm back into it. Does that make sense? Like, because they don't care. Like, maybe they do use like, this little local company, but like it doesn't matter. So, but build the value. Like that's how you're going to switch them. Okay. Other questions with switchovers, clear wins, so forth. Okay.
Do you have a clear win for like townhomes or condos or like homes that don't have like yard?
Yep. Yeah. So there's always a clear win, no matter what. Right. So like, and you have to figure that out depending on your area, depending on your knocking company, depending on your market. Right. And so like, let's say I am knocking in townhomes. Right. My biggest week was 102K. It was in one neighborhood in townhomes. Right. Guys, like the clear win on townhomes is you share walls, so you share bugs. So like cool thing with us, we specialize in townhomes. And then I go into the treatment. Does that make sense? So the yard treatment, the inside treatment, stuff like that.
We specialize in townhomes. So clear.
Yep.
Person's gonna listen.
I don't know if you do it at all. I find myself doing it a lot, especially people that don't have yards. But garages, like
Garages build a lot of value.
10 garages. Like,
Yeah.
Like I personally am oh yeah, perfect. Pop your garage open. I'll show you why everybody's been switching over. That way they actually see also.
Yeah, if they can see it, they can believe it.
Dude, garages are disgusting. Like they always are. Like unless you have the old guy that has his like brand new Corvette in there, and like his floors are just immaculate, you can tell that he's doing it. Like that's the only person that is
The old
not
train.
going to have spider webs or just something around on his ceiling.
Yep.
We take care of this. They just don't. Or if they do, and like this is like pre-overcoming. Or if they do, you've got to ask them, right? So,
Yep. Oh, they did it on the first one. They haven't done it since.
Right.
Cool. Like we do it every single time. I'll put it in the notes for you guys.
Yep.
Right? Okay, what other questions? Questions. Relating to this, I guess.
Do you treat DIYs like a switchover almost too? I've heard of that. Like,
I do it like, were you at Skylar's training? I do it exactly like Skylar talked about. So just pre-overcome it. Yeah. Okay.
Are you saying like let's say the hot button is like ants in yard and everything, like you'll just send them clothes on and really not explain much else?
Yeah, like that's the clear win. I'm going to talk about it.
And then you'll just throw it on later and stuff?
Yeah, it's like, dude, the reason everyone upgrades from Terminex is because they don't do the yard and we do. When you just treat the base, you just put a Band-Aid on it, on the problem. Does that make sense? So each time we come out, we're going to treat, and then I go into the yard treatment. And that's what I'm talking about.
Do you still keep kind of like if they're like, you choose hot with that one thing, or when you just explain everything else, it's all on just that one hot button?
You
Like I run into like I got that LCD, so like I want to get through everything and try to find all their hot buttons,
You don't need all of them. There's only going to be one. Yeah, they're only going to buy for one reason, right? Like, dude, if I need to go buy new skis, I'm only going to go buy new skis if my ski is broken, right? Does that make sense? Like, if I need new Travis Scotts, like I'm not just going to go buy new. Like that's how I am, right? Like I'm just not going to go buy new Travis Scotts unless like these are just beaten apart, which these ones almost are, right? So there's only one reason why people will buy. Just find the clear win. Right? And then if you make it super clear and it's super black and white, they'll switch.
I was kind of like his question too. You haven't talked much about building urgency or talking about bugs and how they'll get worse. You've been saying, I'm going to do the yard, this will take care of that. But do you talk about how the bugs
I totally do. But it's just not part of, like, I totally do. Yeah. No, I totally do. Yeah, I just wanted to focus a ton on like this. So part of training, right, is adding in everything. But hopefully from this training, you guys, like the only thing I wanted you guys to take away today, it wasn't urgency, it wasn't today, it wasn't, it was clear win, right? Zach.
are you looping on this, just like to clarify, are you looping on the same clear win majority of the whole bit?
I would say like I hit it right like hard after I do like the whole box in thing and I explain it like in depth. And then I'll go and try and build more value if I can tell they're not like at the top of value mountain. So, but I'm not just gonna like just to be clear, right? I'm not only going to talk about the clear win the whole time. Like I'm not just going to keep looping on the yard. Like after I go from the yard, I'm probably going to go to the eaves, right? Or like with Mira, it's like I'm probably going to go to like the outlet, you know, the wall injections. Okay? So.
Oh, say you're beeping that every turn, right? And then you roll out your costs. So it's like $299 initial, $169 buy most. And then they're like, oh, they're coming out every 3 months for only $40 a month. Like, what's your next rack there? How do you beat that?
It's like I was just in Florida, and that's what every conversation was. I'm not even kidding. Every conversation was this way, and it's like, dude, that's just you live in Florida. Like you can't do quarterly treatments here. The bugs are too bad. Like we don't even offer a quarterly program. So we come out every other month. Works way better at staying on top of the bugs. That way, dude, you're not seeing this stuff. Does that make sense? And then I'm going into contract.
That's time. You don't adjust the cost.
That's time. What's that price? Not typically, because like that objection is just so light. It's like, dude, they come out quarterly for $40. Well, yeah, dude, like you're gonna have, even if I'm coming out quarterly, you're still gonna have this stuff. Like you need more treatments, right? So, but yeah, last thing, Bo.
I was just gonna say, just to
Yeah.
double down on that, it's like, yeah, dude, you're paying $40 a quarter to not have bugs, and you still have bugs. So
Correct.
Like just level with them. People are fine with that. It's like level with them, and then when you don't have this stuff, that's when these guys upgrade. So
You don't always have to resolve with price.
Okay, guys, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I got you.
It's kind of crazy because like I went on, well, the industry that I was in doing satellite, like it was like switchovers.
Yeah.
Like so
It wasn't?
Oh, it was.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it was. It's like I personally like,
Yeah, I got you.
like I would actually be shocked if I did not do 90% switchovers.
So coming into this,
Matter
you're
of
like
fact, I'm actually terrible at like
startups.
Startups.
Oh, I'm not as good, right? Because like you have to sell them on why they should
Right.
have it,
So terrible.
right?
But like DIY.
Got you, bro.
Like